In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking Bears, Cubs winning streak, White Sox, and more. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the Stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season is over, but that shouldn't stop you from heading on over to icehogs.com. Get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how are you doing on this beautiful sunny day?
I am doing just swell, thank you. It's really nice to have good weather again. It feels more like baseball summer weather because last week I was at the game with my friends. We had a great time. The Cubs won, but boy, by the seventh inning, did it get chilly in the upper deck. Like we had multiple layers on, and we're like, shit, it's getting cold. I want that to be done
Yeah,
with.
yeah, I hate that. Like that's why I don't go to games until June. Um, April, you know it's gonna be bad. May, it's like it gives you like false hope. So you're like, oh, it's so nice out today. I'm gonna go to the game, and then you get to the game, and then like in the third inning, you're like, oh my God, I'm shivering. I gotta go buy a $100 sweatshirt.
Well, yeah,
June is when it's
yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah, no, I mean it's very true. And I mean, you go to a game in May, I feel like a lot of the times when you're at a game in May, it's a real coin flip. Like there are games you're like, wow, it's unseasonably warm, or wow, it still feels like March. It's never consistent in May.
Yeah. So I just like when I was younger, I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll bundle up and be ready to go. Now I'm like, now I just like being comfortable, so I will wait. I'll wait till it's warm.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The other thing too is it was very early to have Memorial Day this year. Earlier than usual because usually it's like around the 27th, 28th, but the way the calendar fell, it was like a week before we're used to it being. So obviously, if it was this weekend, it would have been warmer if Memorial Day was today, obviously. I mean, it was in the upper 80s. It was a little steamy outside in the peak afternoon when I had to leave the office for a little bit, but it definitely would have been much warmer than it was even a week ago. And again, I was prepared for it. I was fine. My friends were also fine too, but it's just like, man, we should be over this shit. And it is interesting to bring up the weather because you still saw in that homestand, the wind was still blowing in.
Oh
It was
yeah.
still creating a lot of pitcher friendly conditions on fly balls. Even that Rocky series, there were several, including the game I was at, that was the Monday game. Pete Crow Armstrong hit a ball that absolutely exploded off his bat. It was hit like well over 100 miles an hour, and then it just hit wall that wall that is created by the wind off the lake coming in from right field, and it was caught right at the warning track. There were several drives throughout that Rocky series off Cubs bats that just died. And we've seen that a lot over the past year. It's been a very pitcher-friendly park, more than usual.
And honestly, I think that is helping the Cubs. I mean, I know that they've got an offense that just puts up runs, but honestly, it the pitching has been so injury riddled that I feel like they're able to put up run. The offense is able to put up runs without home runs, and keeping the ball in the park has been helpful to them. Maintaining on the pitching side.
Well, you look at the offense this year and compare it to years past, right? One thing that you have on this team more than you've had in other years is multiple sources of great speed. Just beyond Pete Crow Armstrong, we have John Birdie, who can pinch hit. We have Fidel Brujan, who can pinch hit and pinch run. We have Dansby Swanson still, who he's not a speedster, but he can scoot. And look what Kyle Tucker can do on the bases. Obviously, jammed his finger yesterday, but that was the first time he got thrown out stealing a base since like 2023. He's got very underrated speed out there. I mean, you couple all of that and you say, you know what? If you have guys that can just put the bat on the ball, like Nico Horner does, one of the best RISP hitters in baseball, and you get some of that speed, you can manufacture some runs. And the good thing is, the Cubs taking advantage of both the weather and the matchup pitching wise, they just needed to scratch across a few runs to sweep the Rockies, the
I mean
9
that
and 50 Rockies.
yeah, so I know there's some people out there online that are, oh, Cubs didn't destroy them, beat them 18 to nothing in every game, that they must be terrible. The Rockies are not a good team, but they're a professional baseball team. Like they're a professional baseball team. They're not a
Right.
good one. They're not going to get blown out every game. And the Cubs off like the Rockies got to give it. Their starting pitching was pretty good. Hasn't been all season, but it was good that series. And they had a tough time scoring runs, but they got the sweep. Sweeping is hard. Period.
No, you're right. And I mean, like you said, any given day, a team can beat you, right? You run into a hot pitcher, or even a bad pitcher just has a good day. You get a few bounces that don't go their way. You get a few bounces that do go your way. Things can change from day in, day out. And obviously, if you're a fan, you want to see your team destroy the opponent every game, but that's just not going to happen. And I know that the matchup looked like the Cubs could destroy the Rockies in every single game, but you just got to get the win. That's what you got to do. You got to get the win, and they got the sweep. And you only trailed for what, a third of an inning after the Rockies got a Manfred man score in the top of the 10th in the middle game. And then you immediately came back, you tied it, and you won it. And to my point about the
What?
speed,
Yeah, that's that. Not to interrupt you, but it's when they went down in the extra innings, and you knew that the Cubs were coming up, and you're like, okay, well, PCA is going to be on second base. Like
exactly.
you know you're going to get at least one run.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the thing. Because if you remember, now the bottom of the 10th for the Cubs that game was horrific. PCA, Seiya Suzuki had and Ian Happ had just absolute garbo at bats. But even so, remember who the runner was in the bottom of the 10th? It was Carson Kelly, like the
Hmm.
last dude you would want on the bases. But then when you had PCA in the bottom of the 11th and you only gave up the run, I'm like, yeah, they're going to win this game. And they did. They did. I mean, Michael Bush tied it with a check swing single, but it's those kinds of things that the Cubs were able to execute on when the hitting conditions weren't favorable. And then you fast forward to the Red Series. You still had a bit of that wind blowing in. And the first game you got beat. You just straight up got beat. Wasn't a close game particularly. You did make a little noise late and almost got the tying run up, but you were never really close in the game, whatever. But the next two games, what you did a good job of doing was taking advantage of some Reds mistakes, including game two, where the pop fly that Seiya hit ended up being the game-winning hit because Benson couldn't make the catch. So when you're able to capitalize on mistakes and you're able to play a little small ball, you're able to get through not needing to slug the ball out of the park all the time.
Yeah, and that's what I like because, you know, there is pop on this in this lineup, but other than Tucker, there's no like masher. Um, and I mean, I know PCA is on pace for like 40 home runs or whatever, but you don't have a lot of mashers. You just have a lot of guys that do have pop, but you're just getting runs across. And
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I appreciate the ability to mash when you need to, but also that you can create runs. and create runs in bunches.
Right, exactly. And I mean, even when you look at a game like Sunday's game, when they completed the 2 out of 3 wins against the Reds, you finally got a home run from Michael Bush and a home run from the Cubs in general because they didn't hit many that homestand. But look how you started the game. You were able to get an RBI single from PCA, and then you had Dansby Swanson doubling down the line to score PCA from first. There's where the speed comes in again. And then what happened when they put the game away? Two bad misplays by the Reds, and you were able to capitalize on that. You know,
You
you
know,
won a series only hitting what, one home run?
playing good defense and having team speed leads to a lot of good things. And they've got the Cubs, like you said earlier, have quite a bit of speed and if you combine speed with smart base running, they've got that in spades. And they take advantage. They absolutely take advantage.
Right. And look, your schedule's about to get real tough again. You're about to meet the Tigers. That team looks incredible. You're going to have to face Scooble Friday. So the fact that you went out and you won all those games that you needed to win, you took 2 or 3 from the Marlins at home. You took 2 or 3 from the Reds in Cincinnati. You took 2 or 3 from the Marlins on the road. You swept the Rockies. You had a good stretch. And then you took the 2 or 3 from the Reds at home. So you took care of business over the stretch when you needed to, especially considering the Brewers and the Reds just keep winning. The Brewers look like they're getting hot again. And they're what, 6.5 back, but we know what that Brewer team does when they
They're
just
five
turn
and a
on that
half.
five. There you go. They're going to be 5 by the end of the night probably if the Reds don't come back. You can't count that team out, man. They just fucking find ways.
You
Just when
know,
it looked like a few weeks ago when they were sub 500, maybe they were going to have a down year. Next thing you know, boom, they look great again. They're just winning, winning, winning.
it's funny because you were like, oh man, whew, I don't have to worry about the Brewers, but man, got to worry about these Cardinals. And then suddenly the Cardinals, they're not bad, but they're cooling off from that torrid pace that they were on. And then suddenly the Brewers jump in one. Um, you just can't wait for the Brewers to play the Cardinals so you can uh, get some breathing room from the two of them.
Right.
Because I mean, the Cubs are playing great baseball. I mean, great baseball. Uh, they're I I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say they're a top two team in the NL right now.
Well, record-wise, they are.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
saying that how they're playing. I mean, I would say that the Mets are probably the hottest team playing the best baseball right now in
they
the
can't
National
lose
League.
at home.
Um,
The
and
Dodgers are very banged up.
the Dodgers are very banged up.
They'll be fine in the long run, but I mean, and I feel like the Dodgers are just a team that they can kind of do what the LeBron Heat did. They can just kind of coast and they know they'll be fine.
It's because they'll be in it. They're good enough, even when they're banged up and not playing well. They're still good enough to make the postseason. And once they're in the postseason, it's good luck because
Right.
they just will keep throwing. I mean, they're like the Cubs. Even if their pitching is banged up, they've got so much hitting. They've got way more hitting than the Cubs. Even if the stats don't show that consistently, like you're going through murderer's row with that team, and they it's tough. It's tough to beat them.
Oh yeah, I mean the top 4 or 5 when healthy, when you have Otani, Betts, Freeman, even like Teoscar Hernandez. That is a really, really tough assignment. And you know they're gonna add more as we go along. Like you
I
know they're
saw
gonna add more.
I saw a video today that was just like, here's a offer package that the Dodgers could throw at the Pirates for Paul Skeens, and it would be an awesome package and wouldn't even phase the Dodgers in their farm system really. And then adding Paul Skeens, and you're just like, you know, that's not going to happen. But also, man, that really could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen, but could you imagine the reaction from just everybody?
E- Everybody, there would not, except for Dodgers fans, there would not be a person that watches baseball that wouldn't be pissed off.
Yeah, it would be an all-time meltdown on the onlines.
I'm just, I don't think the Pirates are moving off of Paul Skeens at all.
He's
And
the only face they have for that franchise. Maybe O'Neal Cruz, but nowhere near where Paul Skeens is.
yeah, O'Neal Cruz, though, what did he have the hardest hit baseball in recorded history? What, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. That I mean that dude when he connects, the ball explodes off his bat like no other. He's very, very talented. It's pretty
He's
insane
built
how
like Popeye's girlfriend Olive Oil, though.
ha 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 ha.
Uh,
It's pretty insane though. You have like the hardest throwing starter and the guy that can hit the ball the hardest and then just nothing else. You got Dick.
but the Pirates have the second worst record in the NL.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, in fact, they have the the White Sox and Rockies are the only team with a worse record than them.
Yeah, man. The Rockies are on pace to shatter what the White Sox did last year.
They're not a good team. They're not a good
No.
team. Though, when you look though, like the Orioles are bad, but like, how did that happen? Like, what happened there? But then they go and they sweep the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean there were close games, but yeah, they swept them and you had that really weird moment. Did you see that where the benches cleared?
I did. I did. Let's save that though for the White Sox section though, because I've got some more White Sox talk I want to go through. But that was such a cheap dog shit move.
Yeah, it was just weird. I didn't get it. Like why? I don't know.
We dot. Well, I mean, we haven't seen anything official yet, but we dodged a bullet, I think, with Tucker and the injured hand.
I when he came out of the game, I almost lost my lunch.
It was no bueno. I will tell you that. And uh, you know, they came out and said like he, he's day to day, and I'm like, okay, all right, feels much better about that.
Yeah.
But man,
Yeah.
that could have been bad.
Well, and here's the thing. If you want, here's my honest concern about the Cubs. They're banged up, right? Your top two starters have been out. Miguel Amaya, who I think is a much bigger cog than people give credit to, is going to be out a while. Especially considering the fact that the inevitable coming back down to earth of Carson Kelly seems to have happened. And I really like Craig Counsell, but why the hell he had him batting cleanup Saturday, I don't get that one. I truly, truly don't get that one. But him and Reese McGuire, who had that great debut, but let's be real, he's not exactly Johnny Bench outside of that. I'm not saying it's a bad catcher tandem, but I think combining the fact that Carson Kelly has cooled off a bit and that you don't have Miguel Amaya, you are going to feel that eventually. And on the other side, too, with the pitching, I really like
What's
Tyone. I
is there?
really like.
Tyone is good, but are we? What's the latest on Shota? I know they said he was throwing, and I figured he was close, but um,
Not hearing much.
Yeah, it went silent. You're like, oh, he's throwing pitches off a mound, and you're like, okay, yeah, like maybe do a rehab start, and then, but then it just crickets.
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, Colin Ray is really fallen off. Hopefully, good sign from Ben Brown when they used the opener the other day. Hopefully, because you kind of need him. And the
Yeah,
previous
you
two
do.
starts were bad.
Yeah, and putting him in with the opener, you got good results.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't fall behind in, facing Ellie De La Cruz for the first time.
And honestly, the bullpen is starting to figure itself out.
Knock on wood. I'm always afraid I'm going to jinx it, but yes.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
mean,
saying that you're confident in that bullpen come playoff time, like, and or so confident that you're not going to try to add somebody in at the trade deadline. Like, no, but you know, like I clench my butt cheeks when they come out, but they've been good. Um, Palencia is figuring this out. Pomerantz doesn't give up runs.
Palencia really has been impressive ever since the blown stave. And you know what's funny? Go look at Ryan Presley outside that horrific Giants game.
You know, but the thing is also put it into context is they're not putting him in high leverage situations nearly as much, and definitely not to close out games. So I think that's helping,
Yes.
and that's fine. You know, you need guys that are just going to eat some innings, and if he can do that without damage, all right, we'll take it. Especially since Palencia is seeming like he's stepping up and taking care of business.
Yeah. And I don't want him near a save situation again. The stuff isn't closer stuff anymore. But if you have a guy that you can rely on being like a seventh inning guy, I'll take it.
Yeah, pitches the sixth, pitches the seventh. Okay, cool, good
Yeah,
with that.
exactly.
You need that guy.
Look at yesterday. He came in what, the seventh or eighth inning? Wasn't a save spot, struck out the side, looked good. I think that plays. The guy just doesn't miss a lot of, outside of yesterday, the guy just doesn't miss a lot of bats, but if he's in a non-highest leverage situation and he gets a few ground ball outs, okay.
Yeah, so that's been a good thing. They're they're desperate though. They've got to get a starter, and they've got to get one before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I mean,
You need to add as much as you can.
I don't know who's available because there's, like I said, is there aren't that many teams uh that are, that have somebody that they're willing to trade that's out of it already. Um, like who's out of it? The Orioles.
The Marlins and the Rockies. The Rockies starters are bad, but did you see some of those relievers they had?
Yeah.
Some of those relievers had sub two ERAs and threw
I
pretty
think,
hard.
definitely they need to add a reliever, but if you're trading for a guy first weekend of June, you're paying a premium. And I don't think they have to pay a premium for a closer this early because things are going okay. But that starter position that's getting a that's getting a bit hairy. When you're not even announcing who your starters are very much in advance because you don't know. You don't know what's going to look
Right.
like. That's where they've got to pay a premium somewhere and get somebody. And like, I mean, all right, NL West. Nobody's making that trade except Colorado, and you don't want any of their starters. The Pirates, the only team in your division, and other than Skeens, who are you trying to get? They're willing to trade.
In terms of a starter, nobody.
Yeah. Um, the Marlins are there.
Well, Sandy Alcantara was the big one, but he has not been very good.
No. Um, the A's and the Angels, they're teams that might be willing to move somebody early. Um, they have bad records and both are on losing streaks. So you could probably pry, but I don't know who's over there. The White Sox are definitely out of it, but who on the White Sox do you want? I
Well, I
mean,
mean, their young starters have been good, but they're not selling them.
but they're not selling their young starters. And
Right.
Shane Smith, I wouldn't call him a young starter, but they're definitely not getting rid of him.
No, no, no.
So, there's nothing there. And then the Orioles. Um,
Well, the Orioles pitching's terrible.
yeah. So,
That's why they're so bad.
I,
They didn't
uh,
invest in it.
yeah. So, um, I don't know who they're going to get. That's the problem. You could go get Charlie Morton.
How old is he? Like 44?
40, 41 right now. I don't know when he turns 40. He'll be 42 this year.
I remember when he was on the Pirates when I was like a kid.
Look at his stats this year. He's 2-7 with a 6.2 ERA and a 1.6 WHIP.
Hey, maybe he should go down to the minors and join Rich Hill. He's still pitching professionally.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's with the Kansas City Royals organization, I believe.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, so like I don't know who on this team, that you're or which pitcher you're trying to get. Like I mean, I'm sure Jed realizes where they're at and is working the phones, but there's there you've got to have a team that's willing to trade and willing to trade a starter that you want. It's really a seller's market right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now, if you look at your rotation, in terms of guys you can trust, Jamison Tyone, who I think doesn't deserve or does deserve more credit than he gets. He does have a home run problem, but he throws strikes, and if he's throwing strikes and only giving up solo home runs is not as big of a deal. Now, I will say, when you have to go on the road and you face tougher opponents, there might be some ugly ones in there. He's not an ideal number one or two, or heck, even number three, but I'd say he's a damn good number four at least. But there's him. Matthew Boyd's been very good. He had the one rough one in Cincinnati, but he came back and was able to, regroup against the Rockies. We'll see how his next starts go. You got Cade Horton, who has the highest ceiling of all of them, but he's still a rookie. You're going to go through the ebbs and flows of a rookie pitcher. We know that. And then you got Ben Brown, who may or may not, quote, be a starter if he has an opener out there. And then you got Colin Ray, who's regressed big time. So it's almost like if you were able, even if you don't get your quote big pitcher right now, if you were able to find somebody else that could at least give you innings, because you really don't have much of that in the organization right now. Javier Assad's not coming back anytime soon. We know that. So it's like you're kind of cobbling together as far as you can. And so far, it's worked. Even in some of the games where Ray's been bad outside of Friday, you've been able to come back and win. But you know that's not going to last, especially when you're starting to play some much better teams again.
I mean, I know a pitcher that's probably available. Uh, he's got a 1.29 WHIP. 39 Ks on the year. Um, and he's probably available. Kyle Hendricks.
Don't make me speak bad of Kyle Hendricks.
Uh, I want to start that rumor and see if I can get it going. Cubs
Hey,
are
I'm
interested in trading
Meatball
for Kyle
Sean.
Hendricks.
We're gonna trade Kyle Hendricks. We're gonna get him.
Kyle Hendricks. Oof, man.
Don't make me talk bad about one of my favorite Cubs of all time. Don't make me.
Mm, yeah, his last start wasn't very good, or the one before
No.
that, or the one before that, or the one before that either, or the one before that. But the one before that was actually pretty good. He pitched 7 2/3 against Detroit, giving up 1 earned run, no walks. That was the Kyle Hendricks special over the last couple of years. Give you one sparkling gem and then four stinkers, and then you're like, which Kyle Hendricks are we gonna get? You know which one you're gonna get, bro. You know which one you're gonna get.
Yeah. Well,
But that's the
I
that's
do.
the that's the kind of pitcher that's gonna be available right now, unless you are gonna pay through the nose.
Well, right, exactly. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, that's who you're looking at, and um, as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, what's gonna happen is it's gonna go from an absolute dead ass seller's market to suddenly, I listed the teams that are probably willing to trade right now, but you come the end of July, you know, who knows what Tampa might be doing or Boston might be doing, um, or Kansas City, uh, Texas. Texas could fall off. Maybe even Houston. Yeah, Houston's pretty good. Texas, though, they could be, ready to move. Washington, Atlanta, depending on how they roll into All Star into the trade deadline.
Hmm.
Um, Cincinnati, and then I don't know. I think there can't be four really good teams in the NL West. One of them's gonna fade after not just Colorado, but one of them's gonna fade. Um, but you're gonna see twice as many teams willing to make a move at the deadline to sell, and you'll be able to get somebody. I still don't think you're gonna get anybody great, but I don't know if you need great. I think you just need a reliable pitcher.
If the Rays are selling, and I wrote about this a few weeks ago, if the Rays are selling, and they seem to sell no matter what, they're always making trades. Drew Rasmussen is a guy that I would not mind the Cubs going after. He's been very, very good. Got a little bit of an injury history, but when he's healthy, he's very, very good. And the money he's making is pretty solid in terms of being cost controlled. I think he's got a club option coming up, and he's not making that much this year. So you would have to pay a premium price because, one, when you trade with the Rays, they're going to want guys they identify and that are going to be good in the future. And two, if you get a cost controlled pitcher, well, then that value is going to go up.
Yeah. And because right now you could use a guy because you just need bodies. When Shota comes back, if he comes back healthy, the need goes down a little bit. I still you definitely need to add somebody because Colin Ray, you want to move on from him, and who knows what the future holds for Matthew Boyd, um, or Ben Brown. Uh, so if when Shota comes back, you're really only still super confident in Shota and Tyone. You like Horton stuff, and he's going to be a long term guy, but you know, again, he's 22 years old. So or 24. Sorry, 2020. No, 2023. 23 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he went from, hey, maybe we see him this year to like, oh, we need him.
Yeah, he really did. And, that was, I think it was the right time to bring him up. And he's pitched, I mean, he's pitched okay. Like the stuff is very good. He has his moments where, he looks like a rookie, but then he flashes some brilliant stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
Um,
you know you're gonna go through those ebbs and flows.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a kid. He's a kid that's a rookie. That's going to happen. So I mean, the hope is that Shota comes back soon, and then you can still add somebody. You'd still love to add like a frontline guy, but I just you know those don't grow on trees.
Right.
So I don't know if you saw The Athletic. Um, they did an article about the Cubs all quarter century team.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to see that?
I saw the article, I didn't read it.
I thought it'd be fun to just quickly go through
Yeah.
and and see where you agree, don't agree.
Okay.
Um, so who is your all century team for first base?
I got to put Anthony Rizzo just for the significance of the franchise. It's very tempting to honestly say Derek Lee because Derek Lee in his prime was legitimately an MVP candidate, but I just think Rizzo gets that nod for the consistency and for just the importance of what he was, what he meant to the Cubs.
Yeah, I lived through the whole Derek Lee era, and the guy could rake, but the leadership of Anthony Rizzo and the fact that he won a World Series, uh, that's the differentiator. So I agree. Anthony Rizzo is the first baseman. Second base, they have Nico Horner. And
I mean,
you could say Javi Baez there, but they put him at short. Um,
over they put Javi over Ryan Terrio and Alex Gonzalez, and they put Nico Horner over Mark Redzolanik. What are we doing here, man?
I mean,
Um,
to be fair, you could have said Ben Zobrist.
I was thinking Ben Zobrist, and I think Nico Horner is a very, very valid argument.
I
I mean,
would
in
pro I
terms
would
of
probably
fielding, sure, but
yeah, I would probably say Ben Zobrist.
yeah, I'd be tempted to say Ben Zobrist too.
Um, they have Javi Baez at short, and
Yeah,
who are you going to put? Addison Russell.
no,
Um, I mean, your only other option is really Dansby Swanson and
Ryan Terrio.
the Riot.
I loved the ride as a kid. And then he went to the Cardinals. He's like, oh, I'm on the right side of the rivalry. I'm like, F you.
Everybody that says that regrets saying that. And
Yeah.
so, and somebody's in the find out stage of saying that comment right now. But
Well, they are playing pretty good, but so far, the first 2 years.
third base, this one's pretty much a gimme.
Is
Um,
it?
oh, I go. Wait, Aramis Ramirez was still there.
Yeah, Ramis Ramirez,
Ooh.
man.
All right. This might be blasphemous. I'm going to say Aramis.
I mean, again, Chris Bryant, what he meant for that World Series championship and winning an MVP, but Aramis Ramirez. I mean, let's get one thing out of the way. If we're just talking about the glove, it's Chris Bryant hands down, right?
I, I mean,
If we're just talking about the glove.
Aramis could play a competent third base, but he was not a good third baseman. But yeah, so I would
But
say
Chris
glove
Bryant
Bryant.
was.
Just the longevity. Chris Bryant was absolutely amazing for a couple of years. Absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
And then the injuries just derailed everything. Aramis played good for a long time.
He did, and he was incredibly consistent.
I'm gonna go with Aramis.
I'm kind of tempted to go to Aramis too. And it's so tough because in prime, Chris Bryant was the best Cub that we've seen outside of Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, yeah.
But you make the great point of the longevity. I mean, every year he'd hit like 280, 290, 300. He'd hit 25, 30 home runs,
Do
100
you know?
RBIs,
Do you know what Aramis Ramirez batting average was during his time with the Cubs?
290.
294
Yeah, that's pretty darn good.
with a 237 ISO and struck out just 12% of the time.
And he was clutch in the regular
Mm-hmm.
season.
Mm-hmm.
The one knock I have on Aramis is when we needed him in 07, 08 in the postseason, completely disappeared. But you know what? So did Alfonso Soriano. So did Kosuke Fukudome. You know, Derek Lee did hit in those postseasons, but again, that's my only knock. But in terms of the consistency, and you know what? Aramis had a pretty good 03 postseason. You remember
Yeah,
the grand slam he hit off D Train?
and I'm not even. This is not pooping on Chris Bryant at all. I Aramis Ramirez is criminally underrated.
I agree. I agree.
I love him, and I almost forgot that he was. I was like, oh wait, hold on a second, going, back to that era. And yeah, he's definitely on this. So that's my pick, Aramis.
Yeah, what did you think we were going comparing Chris Bryant to Nick Madrigal, Miles Mastrobuoni, or like going back to pre-Aramis trade, like Bobby Hill, not Hank Hill's Bobby Hill, but the Bobby Hill we traded for to get Aramis Ramirez. Boy, who
Did
was
you, speaking of Bobby Hill, did you see the picture of grown-up Bobby Hill from the reboot?
yes.
I,
It made me kind of emotional. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like,
I'm
shit,
very
man, our
excited for this.
so am I. Did you hear John Redcorn died?
He not died, he was murdered.
Oh, that's awful.
He was shot to death.
Awful.
So now we've
Awful.
Luann is gone. Dale Gribble is gone. John Redcorn is
Yep.
gone.
Lucky, obviously, with Tom Petty passing
Yeah.
away.
Yep.
Yeah. From every indication I saw, it doesn't even look like Luann or Lucky are even going to be in the picture. Like, I think they decided not to replace them, which I kind of get.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just one of them, you're like, okay, like we could probably, but doing both, like you just write them out. Just write them out.
Yeah. And I mean, especially, I mean, look at Lucky. He was voiced by a musical icon. It's really hard to replace that. And obviously, it's going to be really hard for Toby Huss to replace Johnny Hardwick as Dale Gribble, but Dale Gribble is one of the four main characters.
Yeah, you've got to, replace him. You just have to. You can't write off Dale Gribble.
No, Dale Gribble is one of the engines that drives the propane truck.
All right. So in left field, they got Ian Happ. Um,
A lot of people hate him, but
well, I mean, other option is Alfonso Soriano, and a lot of people hate him too.
I, as a big Ian Happ supporter, I might have to go with Alfonso Soriano. I mean, the guy was a perennial power hitter, and I think here's the thing. I think it's going to be a similar phenomenon with Ian Happ where you kind of hate him while he's here, and then you look back on his career afterwards, you're like, oh, like we kind of didn't appreciate this dude. Like, even because we know now that Alfonso Soriano was playing a lot of his Cubs tenure hurt.
Yeah, that quad injury was like brutal. I mean, he was not the same dude.
No, but even when he healed towards the end, like 2012 when they tanked and lost 100 games, he had a good season. After '09, 10, and a bit of 11 were just not as good, and yet he still hit 20 plus homers.
I mean, it's a really tough decision. The reason I probably lean Ian Happ is he's a significantly better defender. I mean,
Correct.
Soriano probably has a better arm, but Ian Happ is a significantly better defender, especially once that quad injury hit Soriano. But Soriano has more pop in the bat, and
Right.
I think Happ actually has a better WRC plus.
Well, Hap gets on base. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's Soriano wasn't an on base machine when he was with the Cubs. And he wasn't the stolen base guy that he once was when he was a Yankee or a National or a Ranger. We got him on the other half of his career. And his first few seasons were very productive. 30 plus home run type power, but we got him at a point where some of his tools were already fading. I'm going to agree with you and say Ian Happ, but I do think we have to at least acknowledge Alfonso
Oh
Soriano.
yeah, I mean, if you were like no Alfonso Soriano, I'd have been like, okay. I mean, you can sway me either way, but I probably am leaning Ian Happ. Um,
That's fair. The other thing I wanted to add too was technically you could put Kyle Schwarber in there too, but Kyle Schwarber was one, a butcher out there
yeah, I,
in
I
left
would
field.
probably I would probably w- put him in the category for DH, which is an unfair one because they haven't had the DH that whole time. But
No, no. I mean, though when he was a DH in the World Series, he thrived.
yeah, um, all right. Center field. They have
Well,
PCA.
I mean, he's on pace to be.
And you're like, okay. I mean, even without being on pace, here are your options. Mike Talkman,
I
or
like the guy, but no.
yeah, Ortega.
Had a solid little run, but no.
Hap did play. We already put Hap in left, so he can't be center fielder as well. Albert
Right.
Almora,
No.
Dexter Fowler.
That'd be the
Which
other one I'd think
that
of.
that would be Alcantara, De Jesus, Campana, Bird, Fukadomi, Johnson Jones, Juan Pierre, Patterson,
Oh, not Corey Patterson.
Buford, Gary Matthews. Yeah, Damon Buford. That's who I'm going. So I mean, really, it's between Dexter Fowler and uh and PCA.
Well, I mean,
And
PCA's ability is,
PCA is almost at the best war that Fowler had as a Cub, right? And we're in June.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, again, we look at how we looked at some of the guys like Anthony Rizzo, where you're like, his contributions were just so important to that championship team. I mean, you go, we go. The guy homered in game seven to lead off the game, but he was only here 2 years.
Yeah. So I mean, PCA is a better defender.
Yes,
He's a
yes,
better base runner, and
yes.
he's got more pop in his bat. And this is again, I'm not pooping on Dexter Fowler. I like Dexter Fowler. Um, but PCA by All-Star game might have surpassed Dexter Fowler's 2 years of F war combined. Like,
Yeah.
PCA is, I know it's early. It's really early, but it's hard to, I mean, partly it is that has been, I just read you the guys, and that's a bad list. There's not a
The
lot of
only one,
competition.
yeah, the few months of Kenny Lofton. I mean,
Yeah, so it's really Dexter Fowler, who had a very short-lived Cub career, important one, but a short-lived one, versus PCA, who was a budding superstar. And I remember last year, year before, you kept saying, "Man, I wish the Cubs had a guy like Ellie Dela Cruz," and now we
hmm
do, and now we do.
yes, yes. And we both see when the Reds and the Cubs play each other, we both see that display and power on display.
Yeah. All right. Right field, Sammy Sosa. Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to say anybody but Sammy Sosa. You know, maybe when we do the all half a century team in 2050, you Kyle Tucker could be in that conversation if they re-sign him. But man, Sammy Sosa is all time kind of guy.
So what you're saying is you're not putting old Jeremy Burnitz in the conversation, right?
Um, yeah, I'm not putting Jason Hayward in there or Soler or
I mean, if
Sheerholtz. Sheerholtz.
Nate Schierholtz, yes.
Um,
I mean, if we were doing this just based on defense, it would be Jason Hayward, but
yeah. What about Milton Bradley?
oh God, no, that is the all-time not quarter century team.
Cliff Floyd.
I enjoy Cliff Floyd's commentary
I
on
do.
Murder
Not,
Heat.
I'm not choosing him over Sammy Sosa's
Oh, of
quarter
course
century
not.
team Chicago Cub right fielder.
Of
And then
course not.
Kosuke Fukudomi.
Who I think was a looking back was a better player than we gave him credit for, but no, I would not put him over Sammy Sosa.
The problem is Fukudomi came with so much fanfare and
Uh-huh.
didn't live up to the crazy hype.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I look at it, is he was an on-base machine before getting on base was quote cool, and people looked at him to be more of a power hitting run producer, and he just didn't hit for much power.
Cubs and White Sox legend Kosuke Fukudomi.
That's right. He was briefly a White Sox. Was it 2012?
24 games in 2012.
Yeah. I think he was a Cleveland Indian for a little while too.
He 59 games. 59. Five whole Cleveland home runs.
He hit that many with
Um,
Cleveland?
yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. He didn't hit a home run with the Sox, did he?
No, he did not.
Didn't think so.
He did not. All right. Catcher.
Yeah, so I was racking my brain about this one a little bit. You could probably say Wilson Contreras, but I feel like you could also put in Gio Soto or Miguel Montero in there.
Michael Barrett.
Or Michael Barrett, sure.
Um, yeah, I'm good. Joe Girardi.
No.
Uh,
He was a
we
fine
just,
player, but no.
what about Benito Santiago? Oh, wait, no, that was in 99. We briefly had Benito Santiago, who was one of my favorite catchers as a child. He
Wasn't he
was
old and washed by the time he
Oh
came to
yeah,
the
he was totally
Cubs?
washed. He was my generation's Yadi Molina.
But you liked Benito Santiago.
Yeah, because he played for a team that I didn't hate. Like he was a longtime Padre. Um, like that's where I know him. Like he played for a ton of teams after. Oh God, he played forever. But I know him as a Padre. Like I don't, especially when I was a kid, I didn't have any ill will towards the Padres. But
Even after 1984?
I was 7 years old. Like
Yeah, that's fair.
I
That's
didn't
fair.
I didn't grow to be a hateful person until much later. I wasn't hardened yet by being a Chicago sports fan.
Your heart was not yet hardened. What an innocent
Yeah.
time that was. Benito Santiago. Yeah, wow. He played for a long time.
Yeah, he did. And I didn't realize he played for that many teams. Like he was just like a gun for hire after a certain point.
He
But
played until 2005.
I just he like I said, he was a lot like Yadi Molina, where he just was so good that he just would do shit that you're like, okay. Like he would throw runners out from his knees.
Yeah.
Like he would catch on his knees and then just throw and not pop up. Um, and you're like, man, this guy, he's just so good.
So he was Rookie of the Year, five-time All-Star, three-time Gold Glove winner, four-time Silver Slugger winner, and NLCS MVP. So that would have been, let's see, it was after 1984, so it was after his Padres era. Let's see, NLCS MVP. Oh, maybe it was it? Yeah, NLCS MVP. So would that have been, well,
What
Florida was
year was it?
93, 94. Reds in 95, Phillies in 96, Toronto Cubs. Back with Cincy in 2000, San Francisco. Maybe it was 2002 with the Giants. They won the pennant that year with
Yeah,
Dusty. That was
yeah.
probably it.
And he had a good year that year.
He was an all-star that year, yes.
Yeah. I mean, he jumped up to a 2.7 B war.
Yeah. After he was washed with the Cubs, go figure. Man, you know what's speaking of Kenny Lofton, you want to hear something interesting about Kenny Lofton?
Sure.
He was on the 0-2 Giants, who blew the 3-2 series World Series, right?
Uh-huh.
He was on the 0-3 Cubs that blew the 3-1 series. He was on the 0-4 Yankees that blew the 3-0 series to the Red Sox. Then he was on the 0-7 Indians that blew a 3-1 series to the Red Sox.
Um,
He should be in
that's
the Hall of Fame, by the way.
he really should be.
He is a 68.4 B war. Put him in the Hall of Fame, man. He's a career 299 hitter with a 372 OBP. Like, come on. Also, he's got 622 career stolen bases. What are we doing here? Why is he not in the Hall of Fame?
You know what's funny is look back at the like was it the 95 Cleveland Indians team?
Oh, yeah, that was incredibly stacked.
That team was absolutely stacked. You had Albert Joey Bell, Manny Ramirez, Kenny Lofton, uh,
Jim Thome, right?
Jim Thome, um, who else? Carlos Baerga, Omar Vizquel, Eddie Murray. You had Eddie Murray on your team. He was your
That's
DH.
right.
Tony Pena was your catcher, who was a really good catcher. Like that team was stacked. I don't know how they had also had Sandy Alomar Jr.
Wasn't that when they lost to the Braves in the World Series?
Yes.
So the only thing that stopped them was Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz.
Yeah, yeah. They also had old Dave Winfield.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Um,
Probably one of the best American League rosters in a while.
and they had Oral Hershiser, Denny Martinez. Yeah, that team had
They had Ted Williams too.
Julian Tavares. That team was stacked.
Manny was just like he was a young player coming into his prime.
Hmm.
So was Tommy. It's
Uh,
too bad they'd win a World Series. That would have been a hell of a team to win one.
oh yeah, that's one you would have looked back on him in like all-time great team.
If you want to make a list of like the best teams to ever not win a World Series, that's got to be in the top five.
Oh yeah, like absolutely.
Number one's got to be what, the 2001 Mariners? Didn't they win 116 games and lose in the
That
first
team
round?
that team was stacked as well.
Lou Piniella was the manager.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up this team. This is who they have as their starting rotation. Jake
Okay.
Arrieta, John
Mhm.
Lester, Kyle Hendricks, Mark Pryor, Carlos Zambrano.
Hard to
It is hard to argue.
hard to argue. I mean, obviously, when he was healthy, Kerry Wood was worthy of being in there.
Um,
Otherwise,
I mean, you could throw Kyle Hendricks in there.
did you
He
say
had an
Kyle
amazing.
Hendricks?
Did I?
I thought you
Oh yeah, I
did.
did. Never mind. Yeah, sorry. Jake Arrieta, John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, Mark Pryor, Carlos Zambrano. One, two, three, four. That's five. Yes. Okay. Ryan Dempster, Kerry Wood. Um, you could. Kerry Wood was so good when he was in his prime.
I know. I know. I mean, he led the league in strikeouts in 2003. But
I mean, I remember the 20 strikeout game.
yeah, I was too young for that. I don't remember that. Um, yeah, I mean, but who would who would you replace?
I mean, if you put Kerry Wood in there, you take out Mark Pryor.
Right, but obviously Kerry Wood had a longer go at it. But peak Mark Pryor was one of the best pitchers we've seen here.
Oh yeah, yeah. It just like again, like Chris Bryant. It just was a short run, marked by
Right,
injury.
right.
And Carlos Zambrano doesn't get the credit he deserves because he was a hothead, but he was a good pitcher.
If Carlos Zambrano, when he was a player, had a more even keel, I think he would have flirted with the Hall of
He had such good stuff. And what's crazy is he played for the Chicago Dogs not too long ago.
I watched him there. I went to a game and saw him pitch. I
I mean,
went to a game just to see him pitch.
he was not pitching to dominate. He was just out there to be there.
Oh
That guy
no,
was,
he was just, yeah, he was just lobbing it in there.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
then they have their closer and setup man is Carlos Marmol and Pedro Strop.
Yeah. I mean, Marmol had those few years of dominance before things really went to shit. Um, you didn't have Chapman for more than a few months. Wade Davis had the best closer season we've seen, but he was only here a year. I mean, Kerry Wood would be another closer.
Sean Marshall,
Yeah. Joe Borowski.
Joe Borowski. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're I'm pretty all right with that list.
Yeah, no, there was nothing about this list from like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah. Um, all right. Let's go with White Sox a little bit. Um, so the White Sox won 11 games in May. It's more than any month last year, so, which is good. Which is good.
Progress.
Progress. But um that and here's the problem though with the White Sox. is uh they can't win close games. They're 3-16 in one-run games and 2-8 in two-run games.
Yeah, that is a really, really damning stat because they've been competitive in a lot more games than they were last year, but the win-loss results don't look quite the same, or they do look more the same, even if the, proportion of how the games are playing out is a bit different. I mean, the thing is, you've gotten some pretty solid pitching a number of times, but your lineup just is not producing a lot of runs.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're playing Detroit and getting mud stomped.
They are getting their butts absolutely kicked right now.
They're D's in the dirt. Uh,
Knees in the dirt.
and the worst part about all right, so Cannon got rocked, and then Wilson came in, got rocked. But here's the damning part: they Mydroth has one hit, Vargas has a hit. Everybody else is over, over. Um,
Yeah.
you know, uh, what's wild is Mike Talkman is having a good on base year, but man, zero power. His his on base is 463. His um wait, no, that can't be right. I'm not believing the Athletic.
Well, you
Mike
got to remember he missed a lot of time, so his sample size isn't huge.
still Mike
He's playing very well right now.
Mike Talkman is that is correct. Wow. He is 356 batting average, 463 on base percentage, and 622 slug. He's over 1,000 OPS. Mike Talkman, nice. But he's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Um,
He's putting up the early Carson Kelly numbers.
yeah. Uh, but you just would you like to play the guess Luis Roberts stats right now?
Guess the at bats.
No, guess what? Guess what his current batting average on base and slugging are?
Oh boy. Um, I'm gonna say he's batting 188, 188,
10 points lower.
178.
Mm-hmm.
On base, I'm gonna say 289.
267.
Is that low?
Mm-hmm. His slugging,
299.
288
Oh my Lord.
with a 555 OPS.
His at bats are just sad. They're
They
just straight up sad.
they really are. Uh, um, I mean, you're just there's just not a lot of good pieces here. They have trouble scoring runs. Like I mean, Mydroth Mydroth is getting on base. Like the guy's not a big slug guy. I know he came up and he hit some balls around those early couple weeks, but he's a on base guy. I mean, he's on base is 363. Okay. But and he looks like he could be a guy that you have for a long time. Vargas uh you know is playing well for you. But you know Benintendi is better than he was last year, which he couldn't be worse, but he's just he's not a guy that you have as your highest paid player in his team history.
No, he's getting paid all that money to be at best mediocre.
Yeah. And so it's that just like you keep introducing young players that you're like, okay, these guys we can build around. The problem is that you've got to put money into it because incremental growth from such a low point like last year is you can't incrementally grow that into a because by the time the players are, you know, like your players are in their prime, then you're, you got to start paying them, and then you just don't get to that point. You've got to bolster this team with cash infusion and free agents. You just have to if you want to be
Yeah.
competitive. And it's not a knock on the players they have, because you're like, okay, there's a few guys you can identify. You've got a couple pitchers that are good, and then you've got some guys in the minors that you're excited about, and there's a handful of batters that you've got on the major league roster, and a couple in the minors that you're like, okay, like Teal, like you're like, when are they gonna bring that guy up? And you're excited about him, but until you infuse this team with some cash for a real player, not throwing money at a Benintendi that was a bad contract when you did it. Um, that just you've got to throw money at a contract and bring in somebody that can elevate this team. Look at the night and day difference of the Cubs by bringing in Kyle Tucker. That's a night and day difference from what they were last year. Um, so like the White Sox, they've gotta, hopefully this transition of ownership brings an infusion of cash into the team and a willingness to spend money, because like I said, is they've Getz is I shit all over that hire, but I he seems like he's doing an okay job, and there's a few pieces you're excited about, but you've really got to bolster what you've got there. You hope that the ownership transfer from Jerry is going to happen soon, so you can see an infusion of cash, because you've got to add some quality free agents. And I'm not saying you got to go and get the top of the market guy, but you've got to get competent players that can complement your young players and and get you to a respectable team, because I think Getz has not done a terrible job here so far.
Well, I'll give Getz this. He did cook with that Garrett Crochet trade. That is looking like a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, there's a lot of development to do, a long way to go, but the prospects you got for him are looking good in their respective places so far. And the Red Sox they're a mess, but Garrett Crochet looks good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those win-wins that, I know fans are, oh, we want to fleece everybody, but I mean, honestly, it's probably best if you get a win-win trade.
Yeah.
But you touched on something earlier that I want to go back to and circle back on. It is the benches clearing with the Orioles series.
Hmm.
It's that series sucked because it was three close games and you were on the wrong side of all three. You lost two one-run games and one two-run game. And you had a rundown, and the Orioles player just gave a forearm shiver to, was it Lenine Sosa?
It was either him or was it Sosa? Was it Vargas? It was one of them, but yeah, it was completely like, what the hell?
He ran way out of the base path to give a forearm shiver. And then players sort of gathered, and then he gave somebody else a shove. And you're like, all right, this is how we're doing this. And there wasn't a big fight, but the bench is cleared. And I it was it was Bush League of the Orioles. It was
Yeah.
it was Bush League.
It was very unnecessary. It didn't last very long. It dissipated as soon as it happened, but it was like you're just watching it and you're like, what the hell was that all about?
Yeah, I mean the benches clearing was more of a, hey, we saw that and that's bullshit. Don't do it. Um, but man, that's why you need a Pedro Martinez. He's like, who do you want? Who do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I- Is when did the White Sox play the Orioles next? Do they play him again?
I don't think they came to Chicago yet, so I think they still have to do the series on the south side.
Um, let's see.
I
Let's
don't remember them playing this year on the south side.
but I can promise you that it's they're gonna have something to say about that when they play them next. Um, Not in the rest of June. What about July?
Hey, while you're looking it up, the
Yeah.
Rockies just won their 10th game. It's June 2nd. They were playing the Marlins in Miami in front of 5,894 people.
How many?
5,894.
Oof.
There are pictures on Twitter. Go and look it up.
All right. So they play the Orioles September 15, 16, and 17. So it's not for a while. But by that time, both teams are going to be so far out of it that, you can have a bean fest if you need to.
Yeah, who will even be left on either team?
uh, um, you want to talk a little Bears here?
Sure, why not?
Um, there's a topic I don't want to bring up. It's been addressed and it's been beaten to death, and no fans care anymore.
And I'm just going to say this. He did a great job addressing it. I think he did exactly what he needed to do. He was well polished. He answered directly, even in the face of some really stupid questions. He answered it, he addressed it. It's over. Move
Yeah,
along.
yeah. What I want to talk about is Ben Johnson. Every day I fall more in love with this man.
Your Ben Johnson shrine is starting to size up your Greedo shrine.
It's just no bullshit. Just absolute no bullshit. And no excuses. Everybody's going to work hard. Not and I'm reading these articles about him like when he was an assistant um to Butch Davis. Like he was like a grad assistant and he was out there pitching, the idea of we should practice every single week at least once with a sopping wet ball so we're ready to play in the rain. And he just wants to be prepared. He wants body language to be right. He wants the demeanor to be right. He doesn't want to be a palms up team where we're questioning everything. He doesn't want weakness. He wants everybody tight and prepared, and he wants to hunt for those big plays. Like, um, who knows what the future holds as far as what he does with the Bears, but this is such a stark difference than stupid ass acronyms.
The hits principle. No, I mean, you hear every day uh, the things he says and what he wants to bring to this team. I mean, remember when he was talking about, I think it was the beginning of OTAs, whenever it was. It was sometime during the offseason where he was talking about how, like, nobody is set in stone. Like, you are going to compete for this team, for this roster, for a position on this roster. So many of those bubble guys, you're competing to make the team, obviously. Every team has that. But even the guys on the team, it's like, I'm not giving you anything right now. You got to earn everything you get.
Yeah, here's a comment from Ben Johnson talking about watching rookie tape with Caleb Williams. Early in the process, we sat down and watched tape from a year ago and we talked it through. It's like, is this what we want it to look like or not? We came to an agreement. No, it's not. Okay. We learned from it. We move on to the next thing. Like, I just love it. Is get better. Just get better.
Well, think about it. We haven't had that kind of attitude around here. And what did I say in full meatball mode for not even just the past year, but for several years now? Is we need that kick your ass attitude. We just haven't had that, and it showed. And we want that coach like Dan Campbell, where your players will run through a brick wall for him. And I
Yeah.
think Ben Johnson is already making that impression on many of these key players.
Because he's leading by example and he's He setting expectations.
The bar is high. How many times have we said raise the bar with this
This
franchise?
is it's funny. I've heard it quite a few times from multiple coaches on the Bears team. Um, and I also heard it from the new Blackhawks coach is the phrase, the standard is the standard. And I love it. I love it. You set a standard and people have to meet that standard. There's no excuses for it. You meet the standard that is expected of you.
Yeah,
And you set those expectations and guys, you don't have to be just a hard ass. Like Bill Belichick is a hard ass. And there's a lot of people that absolutely hated playing for him. But he got the most out of the players that wanted to be there. And you can easily and quickly cycle through players that are the guys that are willing to play. It's in the NFL because they're non-guaranteed contracts. And Ben Johnson seems like a likable hard ass. And I'm sure there's going to be guys that don't enjoy playing under that. But the hopeful thing is that everybody remembered how bad it sucked last year when you played for a guy that was likable, but sucked ass as a coach.
he was likable as your next door neighbor, not
Yeah.
as a football coach.
Yeah. I mean, if he's the deputy at Mayberry, like he'd be a good Barney Fife, but you don't want him coaching your football team.
Picturing Matt Eberflus acting like Barney Fife around Hallis Hall.
Just it's principle. It's principle.
Citizens arrest! Citizens arrest! So if he was Barney Fife, was Shane Waldron Gomer Pyle?
uh, well, golly, Sergeant Carter.
We didn't have a Sergeant Carter. That's the problem.
Golly, Coach Flus.
And we didn't have an Andy Griffith either, I don't think.
No, we didn't. Oh, we had a bunch of Opies.
Yeah, we did have a bunch of Opies. Uh, who would who would Kevin Warren have been? Would he have been the mayor? Like the mayor who was he was well-meaning, but he wasn't always competent. Like
He
you
he
remember that one
he
mayor
was Aunt
character,
B.
right?
He was Aunt B.
Oh my God. It bakes pies.
Or was it Mrs. B? I haven't seen that show
Uh,
in so long, but yeah.
oh, it was Aunt B. Yeah, it was Aunt B.
Oh my God.
Barney Fife, freaking Matt Eberflus. Now I can't get that out of my mind.
I want to Photoshop his face onto Barney Fife.
Ask like AI to do like a hybrid of Barney Fife and Matt Eberflus.
Ugh.
We're gonna nip it in the bud.
We're gonna be situationally smart.
Boy, see, now you hope that you have an Andy Griffith in the room. You need one. You need the voice of reason, the strong leader, the guy you could go to, the guy that will give you tough love when it is appropriate.
And I know I've said this for years and years and years, is you're gonna see the difference. I mean, who knows what the win and loss record is? Because a lot of that, you know, if God forbid Caleb gets hurt or something catastrophic happens, you can't control wins and losses all the time, but you will see the night and day difference of having a coaching staff made up of people that have done that job before, where not everybody is getting a promotion.
Right. Well, how many times have we said this? And I'll say it again. The past few years, we have seen the entire Bears coaching staff made up of guys who were a grade or two above where they should be. Like Matt Eberflus at the most should be a defensive coordinator. I think more of a linebackers coach, not a head coach. Shane Waldron, he could be a passing games coordinator, not an offensive coordinator. Thomas Brown, I think he could be an offensive coordinator, but he was never going to be a head coach.
I mean, he's probably a quarterback coach.
Sure, sure. Wasn't he originally the passing games coordinator? That was his
Yeah.
official title, right?
Yes. But I could see him being or a quarterback coach, j
Absolutely.
but not a head coach. And it's you just had guys that were in over their heads. The ultimate of that was the Mark Trestman era, where he's like, oh, let me bring my fullbacks coach over from Canadian football and make him my offensive coordinator. You're like, what are you doing? What are you doing, guy?
Mel Tucker is the defensive
You
coordinator.
know, and Mel Tucker, the problem, like
Uh,
Mel Tucker was an accomplished guy. They asked a guy to do a system that he doesn't do, and it was
that's
abysmal.
that's the problem. It didn't fit.
I mean, like he's put together some good defenses outside of that. It's just like, oh, hey, we're gonna make you run the last guy's system, but that's not my system. Well, that's what you're gonna do. Okay. And then he's bad at it, and then you're like, oh, I can't believe this guy. And not to say, I mean, if you've got to perform, period. The standard is the standard. He did not do it, even with the handicaps. Like he still got to do it. But you look back on it with a lot of years of perspective, and you're like, yeah, they really shot that guy in the foot and asked him to run.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just hope all that bull crap is over. Unfortunately, I still don't have the most faith in Ryan Poles. And I still am not sure this team is ready to win with the team that's actually on the field. I still think there are many areas that lacks enough talent. But at least good coaching can elevate a team to be competitive and you can feel like you're going somewhere. Like if you would have told me the Bears are going to win 10 games. They'll be a wild card. They'll be one of the better offenses. Caleb will have taken a huge step. They just weren't quite good enough to go far. Fine. Then you address all the bad areas that you suffered from. You get more pass rush, you build up in the trenches a little more, you get another dynamic running back, and then you're off to the races. But it's the thing where we've seen the past few years where even though the team is flawed on paper, you still felt like there was more talent than what the record was showing you. The, the Bears had their faults last year, but on paper, they should have been better than a 5-win team with
Oh
what they
yeah, I
had.
mean, you even if you look at the games that they should have won,
Yeah,
they were they were a better team.
you should
There's
have beaten Washington. You should have beaten
absolutely
Green Bay twice.
like
You
yeah,
had
those are
the
two right
door
there.
open to beat the Lions on Thanksgiving.
I mean, the Washington game was such a gimme win. Don't let them hit a Hail Mary. That's all you had to do to win.
Yeah.
Uh, the Packer game, don't let them block a field goal.
hmm
Like those are two right there that put you in the position that we thought they were going to be in.
Get him to the better hash. Get Cairo Santos to the hash where he's better kicking from.
That's kind of where 8 wins is, I think, what most people expected of the Bears last year.
Yes. Yes. I mean, considering they won 7 the year before and you had a much more manageable non-division schedule, it was very realistic to think that.
Yeah. So, you know, this year, I look at it and I have concerns and I see a pathway to alleviate those. I've been listening to people talk about Odengbo and listening to him talk, and he's like, I want to be great. I want to be an all-time great. And you're like, okay, all right. If this guy can play half as well as he talks, you're like, that could be a good thing. That could be, we could be better than, but then we also need Montez Sweat. And I'm assuming there was a lot of nagging injuries through the season because he just wasn't the same guy. Um, but you need Montez Sweat to play better. And then um, the left tackle situation, the hope is that Braxton Jones comes back healthy. And the hope is that Ozzy Trapillo or Karan Amagaji just flat out beat him out. That's the hope. Because then you're like, okay. Braxton is healthy and lost his job to somebody better. That would make me feel better.
It is. I don't know what we're gonna get from Ozzy Trapillo, and I just think Kieran Amagagi needs a lot of work. But we'll see.
I mean, they've been alternating. The two of them have been alternating as the left tackle starter.
Yes,
They came
yes.
out and said that Darnell Wright is going to be the right tackle.
Which
So
should come to zero surprise.
I mean, going into the draft, you're like, okay, we didn't sign a left tackle in free agency, and there's really nobody else left after the draft. Like, maybe they moved Darnell Wright, but then they were just like, nah. I'm like, okay, good, because it'd be nice to have some consistency. But I mean, Ozzy Trapillo is a big man, and he's got good feet. Um, so we'll see. He's not going to get bulldozed like Braxton Jones. Because usually when the issue you have when you get a late round pick at your tackle spot is they don't have both good feet and a strong base. They usually have one or the other and excel, and then overcome enough to be a good player, if they're a good one. And Braxton Jones overcame the fact for, it was still noticeable, but he doesn't have a good base and he gets bull rushed to death. But he's got good feet and good movement. You're like, okay, he's been able to account for that and be an average left tackle. Ozzy Trapillo has a strong base and good movement, and you hope that being a second round pick, he can put enough together to just win this job. And it's right there for him to win. But we're not going to know who is the guy until you start seeing them in live pads against real opponents in preseason or you know against the opposing defenses.
Right.
So I mean, I see a path forward for all of their ails. Like, I saw Nick Chubb said he doesn't want to sign until close to training camp. So the Bears are apparently, according to Fowler from ESPN, that the Bears are definitely in the mix there. So you're like, okay, if Nick Chubb comes in and he's 80% of what he was before his injury, you throw him in the mix and you're like, okay, you can put together a running back room by committee that's going to get you to what you need. Not be what Ashton Genty would have been, but they'll get you to where you need to be at least.
Right. Exactly.
They'll more than the minimum viable option. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope, I think I've said my piece. I just wish the Cardinals and the Brewers would stop winning.
I know it's driving me nuts. Every time I go to look, I'm like, damn it, why do they keep winning?
I, the Brewers, I just, that devil magic, that is not going to go away. They're getting healthier, they're playing better. I'm still concerned about them, but we could talk about that another day.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe, however you listen to a podcast, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or Swerski_sports_podcast on Instagram, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter/X, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down